Hello, everyone. Sorry to stream again. It looks like my internet decided to completely short out, so only about 3 minutes of the video got recorded. So I'm gonna try to do this again. Today is Netflix Day, as it is Tuesday. Also, hopefully, the fact that it's Netflix Day reminds you that it's Tuesday. If this is your first time, I'm going to be giving you some streaming recommendations. I'm watching one tonight on Prime. It's called Hell of the Living Dead. It's cheesy, it's Italian, it's about zombies, but Prime Day's tomorrow, and not sure I'll recommend that to you fine people. But we're going to go with some Netflix picks today. The first are two shows. I'm recommending The Great British Baking Show. I love watching baking competitions. My personal favorite's Food Network, though, but I know a lot of people love The Great British Baking Show, so if you want to go back and watch older episodes, they are here for you to watch. And actually, I learn a lot from these shows more so than cookbooks. Is I just watch these and I pick up little tips for baking. The next show I'm going to recommend is a personal favorite for me, although I can't recommend the entire show or entire series, I should say. And it's Community. So this had a very tumultuous history with the network. It was on NBC. Um, the creator Dan Harmon was fired after season 3. So season 4 was done without him. He came back to season 5. I think season 6 was on another network. But what I would say is watch seasons 1 through 3. It is one of the most fun and inventive sitcoms you will ever see. And if you're a Don Glover fan, this is pre his rap career, pre Atlanta, so it's a very different role for him. And it is just a lot of fun. It's very quotable. It's meta. It plays with a lot of conventions a lot. So if you've never seen the show, I would say give it a shot. On to movies. The first I'm going to recommend is Blue is the Warmest Color. It is a 3-hour long French romance about a girl's first love. Don't let the 3 hours scare you. This actually has made a big splash in the US and in the festival circuit when it came out a few years ago. And with the exception of one scene, it is actually a fairly low key film about a girl who experiences the first great love of her life. It's a young woman named Adele. And just one day crossing, she sees another young woman with blue hair and it's just instantly like, I'm going to go talk to that person. And it is a very realistic movie. It shows that it doesn't always work out. It takes you a while to get over it. You have to move on sometimes. And the two actresses are fantastic performers. I know we've seen one of them, Leah Seydoux. I cannot say her last name, but she's been in other American films as well. But if you're down for the art movie circuit, Blue is the Warmest Color. The next is a documentary called Murder to Mercy, the Cyntoia Brown story. So you might have heard of this girl in the news. When she was 16, she was trafficked and she murdered the person that she was sold to. And she was jailed for that murder. And someone found out about that story and advocated for her release, arguing rightly that she was a victim of a system as well, and that was for her an act of survival and defense. And it's a good documentary not only to learn more about this woman's story, but also how in many cases the legal system does not help people who are trafficked, and depending on where they are on the socioeconomic ladder, they're just assumed to be criminals as well and jailed rather than helped. I was about to say onto something more uplifting. I mean, it kind of is, but it's still sad. Is the film Mudbound? This was directed by Dee Rees, and this is one of the first Netflix movies to get a lot of, or at least not a lot, but a few Academy Award nominations. Most notably, Mary J. Blige was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and Dee Rees was nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay. It's a really good movie. It's about two poor families who their stories through the 30s and 40s. It's a little long and it drags a bit, but I think the way that it overall resolves is great. And I think the final scene is wonderful. And there are a lot of good performers in there. And Dee Rees is definitely a director to watch. Something a little more, not quite lighthearted, but funnier now, is a Korean comedy called The President's Barber. So this stars one of my favorite actors, my man Song Kang-ho, and he plays the barber to the president in Korea. And if you've only seen Parasite or you've seen Snowpiercer and you're like, I want to see more of this actor, I would recommend watching this. I just think overall, a lot of people who watch movies should get a sense of who the great actors are outside of the confines of American cinema, because the world is full of fantastic actors, and Song Kang-ho is one of the best working. Up next, speaking of good actors, is A Single Man. This is the movie I like to call the one Colin Firth should have won his Oscar for. It is directed by Tom Ford, who is a fashion designer, and it is about, this takes place in the 60s. A man, his partner has died, and he's gay, so can't really be out. And it's just sort of a day in the life for him. And it looks beautiful and, looks like a fashion spread, not surprising as it's directed by Tom Ford. But Colin Firth really anchors this movie, and he is very good at getting a lot of emotion out of a character who's not very emotive. On to some sci-fi, I'm recommending Ex Machina, directed by Alex Garland. If Alex Garland sounds familiar, it's probably because he wrote 28 Days Later or wrote and directed The Fantastic Annihilation. And this is a film about AI, and it doesn't go where you think it's going to go. And I love that, not just in any movie, I love that in a sci-fi movie, where you go in with this set expectation and it completely blindsides you. Good performances from Oscar Isaac and Alicia Vikander as well. She is great. I know she won an Oscar for that Danish Girl movie, but this is another one where I'm like, should have awarded her for this. She's amazing. Anywho, the last two movies are aimed more towards kids. I am going to recommend Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse again, because the first time I did, my cat sneezed the whole time. And slightly offended because this movie's a masterpiece and you should be ceasing during it. If you have not seen this movie, you should. It is one of the best animated movies to come out of America in years. It's better than anything Disney or Pixar's done in a long time. It's one of the best looking animated films to be made in a long time, and it looks so distinctly different from everything else out there. I'm at the point where a lot of the Disney Pixar stuff and DreamWorks, they all blend together for me look-wise. This is just so wholly its own thing. And it also gets to the heart of why people love Spider-Man, why people have followed this character for years. And it also gets into the different types of the different Spider-Men. There's Spider-Gwen, there's Miles Morales. And if you don't know who they are, that's fine. The movie is completely accessible. I am still glad it won Best Animated Feature last year, because that was also the year where they were like, let's give Green Book Best Picture and Bohemian Rhapsody Best Editing. So I'm like, oh man, don't mess this up, Academy. I mean, I know awards don't matter, but it's always good when the right ones get awarded. But again, if you've not seen Into the Spider-Verse, take the time to do so. You will not regret it. It is a wonderful ride, and even when you watch it again, you keep discovering new things. And the final movie I'm going to recommend is a childhood classic at this point, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. This is definitely a VHS at school, it's raining out, you got to watch something for recess movie. And I think overall it still holds up. I mean, it's a very charming movie, mainly because of the kids and absolutely because of Gene Wilder. But what's interesting is when I went back and rewatched it, it is not a very dynamically directed movie, with the exception of the tunnel scene. And that doesn't shock me too much because Mel Stewart went on to work in television after this, and TV in the 70s is not what TV is now. It was not a place where you really went to be creative. But overall, this movie is still a wonderful film for people of all ages. Again, except for that tunnel scene. It's got some weird stuff in it. Songs are still good. I still get Veruca Salt songs stuck in my head. And it is still a heartwarming film with a good message and a great performance by Gene Wilder. So hopefully you'll watch one of these movies. Again, sorry for having to retape. And I will see you tomorrow with What's on Prime.